And Jesus took a lot of time to do teaching of the disciples, to reassure the disciples that knowing what was going to come so that they would remember these things after Jesus seemed gone. And Jesus prayed to God in front of the disciples and the like. So at the end of this time, this very intimate time with his disciples, and more than 11 probably, in the beginning there were 12, we know of the 12, and Judas has gone, and there's probably some other people there. So after that time with the followers, Jesus and they go out into the garden. And a garden is a very intentional space. It's been created for some purpose. And a lot of times, I don't know about you, but in a garden that's set up, it's a place you go to relax and be renewed and refreshed. Even if you're the one doing the work of the garden, it can be those sorts of things. And we learn from the scripture that Jesus had been meeting with his disciples there for quite a lot of time. So this was their intimate space. In some ways, like a church, it came to my mind that you have to be intentional about coming to worship with people in an intentional way and space. There's other ways to worship God, but to come together. And that when we come together, we expect to be safe and to, on our best days, to lift one another up and be renewed and refreshed for our lives. And that's what the disciples were used to. So they're coming into this space that's the garden, and Jesus is the one who comes into it, and they're with him. And we hear that instead of a place where they can settle down and have further conversation and joining together, that this whole slew of people, a cohort of soldiers, has come and is outside the garden. And those are the Roman soldiers. And then from the temple are the temple police. So they're there too. And Judas, he's the one who left. He betrayed Jesus by leaving earlier. He is with them, has shared with the leaders where Jesus and the disciples are, where they can find him. But the soldiers and Judas do not go into the garden. They are on the outside of the garden. And Jesus goes out of the garden to meet them. We learn through the scriptures that Jesus was wanting to protect his disciples who were left back in the garden. And what we lose is that a few chapters ago, Jesus was talking about being the good shepherd and was talking about being the gate. And in those images was talking about keeping sheep safe. The good shepherd would lay down his life for his sheep. And we hear in the words that Jesus says that he's taken it on. He is leaving the disciples behind so that they will be all right, just as he had promised that they would be kept from harm. So Jesus goes out from the garden and he engages. Who are you looking for? He is not given over to the soldiers. He gives himself over in the book of John, in the Gospel of John. And he says, who are you looking for? They say, and he says, I am. And we heard it from a different passage than what you have in your bulletin, because the word is I am. He is something we've added. And when we hear the words I am, that's a reminder that Jesus is God. The word I am is the name of God. And so we have a theophany here, which I had never really thought about, because as he says it, and this whole slew, a cohort's supposed to be around 600 people. So maybe there's 600 soldiers other than the ones that came in from the temple. Maybe not, but the idea is that this whole slew of people represents the world and represents the people of God, the Jews. And they are all out there, and they are, this whole group, not the ones still in the garden, are all working against what it is God is trying to accomplish in the world through Jesus Christ. They are against Jesus. And they all fall down when Jesus proclaims his name. And we hear a reminder in this that even though it seems like the world is in control and has the power, that God is more powerful than all. And God chooses to work in our broken world. And Jesus is doing God's work on earth, because